All right, look, we've all been there, right? That moment where you're either busy or you're just feeling lazy and you put on an anime, but you don't or can't read the subtitles, so you put the dub on. And it's funny because I've done this quite a few times and I've come across quite a few dubs that a lot of people aren't talking about that are really good. So today, we're going to be talking about my top 5 modern anime dubs. And man, I cannot wait for the hate comments from the sub-elitists to come rolling in. So hey, if you want to be one of those hate comments sub-elitists telling me how the subtitle version is the only way to listen to it without exception every time, make sure to subscribe so if I make another dub-related video, you can be the first to comment. But either way, moving on, what I'm talking about when I say modern dubs are dubs that have come out in the last, let's say, 3 to 4 years. And I'm setting that because some shows in this list are a little bit older, but they're either continuing on with more modern dubs, or the show came out a while ago, but they only recently got dubbed. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about modern dubs. And the first show in the list at number 5 is Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole was a really weird show for me because I didn't quite get it at first, but I kept coming back and I didn't quite understand why. And then once I sort of figured it out and really latched onto the show, I loved it. And when the dub came out, I figured I'd give it a watch because I figured if this show is so good and it's actually not being licensed by Funimation, perhaps we'll have some dub actors that I've never heard of before who might do a really good job. And was I right? This dub isn't super crazy in any way, like it doesn't change the landscape of dubbing. However, it does really do a good job of translating what was originally intended from the Japanese context. And that in and of itself is something you can't always take for granted with dubs. So good job on them for actually getting across a really good translation of the Japanese meanings of a lot of the moments in the show. And kudos to the actors from this series because they do a phenomenal job of bringing these characters to life in English. It's actually really incredible. We have Adam MacArthur as Itadori, who does a really good job in this character's voice, though I do feel like his character voice can be a little low for the character at times, but generally, every sketch, every funny moment, every serious moment, he carries it super well and it fits the character extremely well.
You okay? I wanted to pull off a spirit gun or a bankai or a Rasengan or...
Leave me, Gojo! Go after them! I'll be fine! Ah! Wait, forget that I lied! I need help!
Another voice that I wasn't expecting to be done this well was Goju's voice, and the voice actor for this was Kaiji Tang, and my god, he did a really good job at voicing this character. Goju in the original Japanese version was sort of this character unto himself, this really chaotic but funny and stoic when he needs to be character, and it's really hard as any actor to do that, let alone do it on top of acting decisions and animation that's already been done, and my god, Mr. Tang, well done. You did a phenomenal job at this.
I wasn't planning on showing up. But you got kind of roughed up, kid. I'll show the second years. Say cheese!
Ray Chase does the voice of Sukuna, and he does a really good job, but it's kind of interesting because he doesn't sound like the original Japanese voice actor at all, but the original tone of Sukuna as the character still comes through. That very stoic, angry, but also chaotic and very, very evil voice works perfectly, even if it doesn't sound like the original Japanese.
Don't poke around inside me. Not without my permission. I hate that punk ass. How about this then? We'll fight to the death and I'll do it without conditions if you defeat me.
But by far my favorite character voice in English from this series was Nobara, brought to life by Anne Yatko, and she did an amazing job. Nobara as a character is already a really weird character. Most of the characters in the show are pretty weird, but her kind of empty-headedness but seriousness while also being angry and funny and lighthearted and kind and all this stuff is just a very wide range of emotions to sort of pack into one character and to voice. And my god, Mrs. Yako, well done. Again, you did a phenomenal job bringing this character to life.
Okay. I wonder where it could have gone.
Hey, my skirt's not here either, you clothing klepto. Now you've gone too far. You drop even one of those bags, and I'll kill you!
Now, moving on to number 4, this was a dub that I was sort of skeptical of because I watched this entire show in the subtitled version before the dub was even available, and then when I did watch the dub, all of my concerns were put to rest, and that show was Dr. Stone. There were two reasons why I was kind of skeptical of the dub for Dr. Stone. The first of which was the fact that it would be very hard for a lot of these characters to have conversations that exist in the Japanese version, because there are moments where the Japanese characters speak English. And, well, the way that they sort of wrote over it in the dub worked really well. And believe it or not, there are some moments in the dub that carry over the original intention of the manga better than the sub. A perfect example of this is the Pig Latin that Gen often uses. This is completely glossed over in the sub version, and they actually use it in the dub. Now, the second reason why I was skeptical was because there were a few character choices that seemed a little weird when it came to their voices. The first one was Aaron Desmuke as Senku. Now, I've heard Aaron Desmuke before. He does a really good job as Oscar in Ruby, and he also does a phenomenal job in a show that I will mention later, of which I was also skeptical of. And actually, now that I think about it, he did a really good job as Leonardo Watch as well. But for some reason, the original voice of Senku and Aaron Desmuke's voice didn't, in my head, match up very well. But my God, when they actually introduced him and they started in on the show with his voice, all my concerns, again, were put to rest.
Wake up and smell the ammonia, buddy! We're gonna need you on Team Science! Let's go!
Adding to that, Ian Sinclair voicing Tsukasa, so you have this sort of deeper but kind of young-sounding voice, really charismatic but also very dark at times, works super well.
We're in total control of the revival fluid.
And Rico Fajardo, sorry if I butchered your last name, your voice of Taiju was perfect. I'm already familiar with him as Mirio from My Hero Academia, but man, the just epic screams that this guy can pull off shouting as Taiju.
Oh, Senku! You're alive too! Don't you dare hug me while you're buck naked!
It's just as ridiculous and energetic and fun as the original Japanese version. So if you want to go watch the Dr. Stone dub, don't be afraid because it's actually really good. And you even get some things that the sub didn't even give you from the manga. So chew on that, sub haters. Now, coming in at number 3 is a show that I was really not sure if I was going to add to the list, only because it has been going on for so long, but there's a few things that made it worth putting on this list, which is My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia's dub is pretty old. It's not super old, but it's been going on long enough that it kind of breaks the rules of my modern dub list. However, because it's still getting new characters as the series goes on, and the quality of the dub, even with it being a simulcast dub at the beginning and even now, really kind of holds it up on a whole different level. Like, generally when I think of simulcasts, I would think of something that's sort of okay, but if something isn't quite right, there's not enough time to iron it out. A perfect example of this is Snow White with red hair, where one actor wasn't able to make it in, so they had to replace him for an episode or two. This, however, is not the case with My Hero Academia. The quality has been phenomenal from start to, well, present. Justin Briner is the perfect voice for Deku. He just perfectly encapsulates that character, and having met him once in real life, he is basically real-life Deku. So it's super cool. He's a really cool guy to begin with in person, but the voice acting that he does for Deku is incredible.
Look at me, Todoroki! You haven't managed to put a single scratch on me yet, so come at me with all you've got!
Clifford Chapman as Bakugo is awesome, and again, fits Bakugo as a character perfectly. They sound almost identical in Japanese and in English, so that's a really big compliment right there.
You're even worse than the rest of these damn rejects, you quirkless wannabe! You really think they'd let someone like you in when they could have me?
And of course, who can forget the king of voice acting himself, Chris Sabat, voicing All Might.
Texas Smash!
And the All Might voice that he portrays sounds identical to the Japanese voice actor. And honestly, that's a theme with almost every voice actor in My Hero Academia, which is sort of uncanny. You end up with a lot of characters who sound exactly like their Japanese counterparts, just in English. So that's high praise, and it's super impressive considering that 5 seasons on, they are still pulling that off. Now, coming in at number 2 is a show that I was really surprised they bothered to do a dub with because of the nature of the original Japanese version, but they pulled it off. And honestly, they did such a good job that it made it to number 2 on my list, and that is is Konosuba. Konosuba is one of those shows that the longer I watch it, the more I can kind of tell that a lot of the actors from the original Japanese cast were just having fun in the booth and adding some things that were not in the original script and making it work. And that's really, really hard to sort of translate over into English because some of those choices sort of have to be acted into, even though in Japanese it was sort of a spur-of-the-moment thing. That is something I would have never even bothered trying to dub, but obviously I'm not in the dub voicing world right now, so what do I know? And man, did they do a great job of it, because once the voice actors for English sort of got into the swing of things, because honestly the first episode does feel like they're not quite in the character yet, once they nail it, they nail it. My God. Arnie Pantoja's voice as Kazuma is hilarious, and his outbursts work as Kazuma. His more serious moments, him turning on the deep Kazuma voice, works so well, and the way he plays off the other characters feels exactly the way that Kazuma, and by extension his Japanese voice actor, play off the other characters in the original version.
If you beat me, I'll grant you any one request. Okay, you're on. Ready to go! Wait, hold on!
No way! My spell didn't work on him!
It looked like it worked to me. He went, yeah! And everything.
Christina V, yes, that Christina V, the one who sings on YouTube, voices Darkness and does a phenomenal and, as expected, hilarious job of it.
What shall I do, Kazuma?
How should I know?
I can feel his filthy eyes on me. Hungry, wanting. They are the eyes of a degenerate.
Erica Mendez does a phenomenal job voicing Megumin, but I think the explosion shout still sounds better from the original Japanese version, but everything else she does is great.
I love you, Manatite staff, with your throbbing magical power.
And then we have Faye Mata as Aqua, and she does a great job. Every outburst, every high-energy scream, the really shrill shouts that Aqua does throughout the series, they sound basically the same in both, so kudos, you did it.
But I am the goddess Aqua. You really shouldn't drink so much. I'm not drunk!
And yeah, generally, if you're just in for a good time, lots of fun moments, lots of funny moments, and you really don't care about the sub or dub version, put the dub on. It's really funny, and there's even some crude moments that I feel like were just ad-libbed, which is amazing considering that the original Japanese version was also fairly well ad-libbed.
She smells like ass!
Everyone should be singing my praises and spoiling me rotten!
All right, you attention whore!
And the last one. This one was one that I felt probably the most skeptical of when it was announced, again, because of the voice actor choices, but my God, was I proved 180,000% wrong. And this is the dub for Love is War. Love is War is a show that I fell in love with watching the original Japanese version because it was just so funny. The general premise was outlandish and hilarious. The characters were amazingly funny, and the situations that each of the characters were put in was just so hilarious. So, when they announced Ian Sinclair as the narrator and Aaron Desmuke as the main character, one of the two main characters, I was kind of skeptical because neither of their voices, in my head, really matched the original character voices. But my God, Aaron Desmuke nails Shirogane's voice because the way he portrays the character can have that deep, stoic, serious voice, but anytime he shouts, yes, it sounds like Aaron Desmuke, which means that by extension it sounds like other characters he's voiced, but it's just different enough to make you laugh, and the energy he carries behind it is so good.
Hold on a second. No one will disturb us for 3 hours, and Shinomiya will forget whatever happens? Why have I been given this overly convenient chance to be a scumbag?
Alexis Tipton was another voicing choice that I was a little skeptical of because I've heard her stuff before and it's fairly high-pitched, and knowing that the original Japanese actress can go very high made me think that maybe it could work, but then hearing how low the Japanese voice actress went also made me skeptical, until I heard this.
How interesting.
You really are quite cute.
Yes, I can't deny it, the English version actually did a pretty good job of finding an alternative for Okawaii Koto, and I'm not even mad because it works so well.
I want to find out how many peaches I can fit in my mouth. Just count peaches, though.
So cute.
I want to see this little kid even closer. It's people like her who are destroying the planet. She's a repulsive, cancerous growth upon our world.
Would you like to come with us too, Kaguya?
Would I?
Now, one of the voice actors I could totally see voicing this character was Jade Saxon as Fujiwara, and she nailed it. I mean, I've heard her voice other things, and yeah, I can absolutely picture that character voice, and it works so well.
It would be cool if you could increase the budget for the Tabletop Game Club. I'll give you a cola. You're laughing hysterically just like I wanted. I'm so happy!
Wishes do come true.
Austin Tyndall as Ishigami is another one where it's a very subdued voice, and it works out super well.
Just imagine what it was like the day Fujiwara tried archery. They must have been all over the place, since you know she's gotta be way above a D-cup.
And the moments that we have through the show with even just side voice actors is amazing because the chaos, the energy, the comedy all works so well. The ramen scene is, in my opinion, funnier in the dub than it is in the sub. Fight me in the comments.
The idea is to appreciate each scent in turn, starting from the fragrant red pickled ginger. And of course, the owner is 100% aware of that fact, which is why he placed the ginger farthest away from me, and I'm positively delighted by it.
And you can't talk about this show without talking about the narrator. And Ian Sinclair, while I was skeptical at first, nails the narrator voice because you have this stoic, serious, straight man vibe from the Japanese version that kind of counters anything that happens through the show. But on the flip side, with the English version, I'm laughing thinking about some of these scenes. On the flip side, in the English version, he is just as chaotic and hilarious and just all over the place as the rest of the characters, and he adds to the chaos and hilarity as opposed to sort of opposing it for comedic value. It's so good. And the few moments where the narrator needs to sort of match what's going on in the scene, he does a great job of that, even in that narrator on crack persona that they put on for this character. It's so good.
Just how much advantage did he take, though? That is the question. And if the answer is none whatsoever, that's infuriating too! This guy's a noob who's begun his ascent up the alphabetical staircase. But he's still pretty much at the base of the stairs next to Shirogane, the virgin. But sausages, omelets, hamburgers, steaks, pickled plums. She's never seen such delights. Oh, packet seasoned rice.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
Shoujo manga brain. Remember when I said we'd get to the home visit later?
It's later. Maybe she thought I was cool.
Aw, he finally gets it. In that moment, they knew Fujiwara was scum. Yeah, they're scum too. Just in case you missed it, those citrus rinds contain limonene, which can dissolve rubber. So if one drop of juice were to hit that balloon, yeah. Fairy tale kisses happen in real life more often than people think. These two just discovered that for themselves. The student council is in charge of inspecting equipment for the sports festival.
And that wraps it up. That is my top 5 modern anime dubs. If you guys have seen some of these, let me know what you all thought in the comments. If you haven't seen any of these, what are you doing with your life? Don't stick yourself to subs. There are some phenomenal English dubs out there, and some of them are fairly new. You can't just write them all off as garbage because they are so good. While there are some iffy ones out there, these are definitely up there in some of the best ones I've heard in recent memory. So that wraps that up. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys want to see more content like this. Leave a comment letting me know what you guys think. I'm always curious to see if you guys have more ideas. I'm always writing new stuff down for these top 5s. And apart from that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.